Welcome back to another episode of Is Fitz Happy? I'm Luke.
And I'm Emma.
And this week we're discussing Chapter 19, The Inn. This also has an epigraph, but it is not labeled this time. We don't know who the author is. We can assume, maybe, that it's Fitz. We kind of have that assumption beforehand that all the unlabeled ones have been Fitz, just his non-published works, but we just don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because there's Badgerlock's Tales of the Old Blood
Right.
interspersed. So if it is Fitz, you would think it'd be attributed in some way to him.
Unless that is a published work from Tom Badgerlock.
I guess. But I don't know, whatever. I don't know how Robin Hobb decided what was what. So
my assumption is that this is unmarked because it's one of Fitz's attempts to write the history of the Six Duchies. And it's one of the attempts that he threw away because the first couple lines here are full of vitriol for Prince Regal.
Valid.
When Prince Regal the Pretender wrongfully claimed to be king of the Six Duchies, he introduced a system of justice he called the King's Circle. So it's talking about the King's Circle. It's talking about how that was abolished by Queen Kettrican later, but it brought up a sense of bloodlust and a desire for violence in the people of the Six Duchies that hasn't really been sated since. And how a lot of witted people during that time of King Regal met their end in the King's Circle. And it wasn't just witted people, it was everybody. But a lot of witted people met that fate. And then that public tolerance for violence, became a part of society.
It went from being a tolerance to a hunger, especially because when Queen Kettrican comes in and is ruling for Dutiful until he is old enough to rule, she abolishes it immediately. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole left that Regal has created of wanting to see this spectacle of people being attacked and killed for sport.
And the unknown writer, does not attribute the whole trial by combat thing to Regal, notes that there has always been some sort of trial by combat in front of the witness stones. Whoever wins there seems to have been favored by the gods and won. Regal just added a stadium to it and made it an official part of the legal system.
Exactly. And I mean, Regal also had specifically witted people coming into these circles, which before it wasn't necessarily just about accusing someone of having wit. It could be about anything. And it still is.
Same with the King's
but I
circles,
think the difference is Regal had witted people fighting animals and humans. And so I think there's that added sort of, I don't know, entertainment value. I hate saying that because it's death, I don't think it is.
That's the Colosseum of this time, because it's also accused criminals, and whoever, if they won, they're deemed to be innocent of their crimes.
Right. So it's just the amplifying of everything and just making it more of a spectator sport instead of just a casual Jimmy at the pub is accusing Carl of cheating on his wife or something, So it's, I don't know, it's gotten bad, but clearly the writer does hold Regal to blame mostly.
Yes, yeah. Fitz wakes up in the morning after skilling out and connecting with Nettle and does not have a headache at all, a skill headache, and would have gladly rolled over and slept the rest of the day away, but doesn't know if that's because this is the first, real great night of sleep he's had in a while, and if he's just that tired, or if he just wants to seek that safety again. So he forces himself to sit up and wake up and okay, I can't just relax the day away. I have stuff to do.
Yes.
Nighteyes was gone. The others still slept. I poked up the embers of the fire and fed it before it occurred to me that we had nothing to cook over it. We'd have to tighten our belts and follow the prince and his companion. With luck, something edible would cross our path. I drank from the stream and washed my face in the cool water. The day was already warming. As I was drinking, the wolf came back. Meat? I asked hopefully. A nest of mice. I didn't save you any. That's all right. I wasn't that hungry, yet. He lapped alongside me for a time, then lifted his muzzle. Where did you go last night? I knew what he meant. I'm not sure, but it felt safe. It was nice. I'm glad you can get to a place like that. There was wistfulness in his thought. I looked at him more closely. For an instant I saw him as another might. He was an aging wolf, gray on his muzzle, flesh sunken on his flanks. His recent encounter with a cat still hindered him. He ignored my concern to stare into the stream. Fish? I let my annoyance seep into my thought. Not a sign of one, I muttered aloud. And there should be. Plenty of plants, midges buzzing. There should be fish here, but there aren't.
So 2 things that I want to talk about. First being, how does Fitz not realize that that is his daughter Nettle, that he has skill dreamed with?
I don't know.
Because it's not like he's never shared a consciousness with her or skilled out to her.
Not knowingly.
Well, yes, because whenever Dutiful, it's revealed that he's been doing that with Dutiful, he realizes that he has also definitely been doing that with Nettle.
True, he does have that realization. But with Fitz being so untrained, it seems to me like he doesn't have that depth of knowledge needed to recognize things in the skill. It all seems very muddied to him as I'm reading. Like there's no clear and concise, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. It's just reach out and see what happens. And I feel like that's just what's happening.
Okay,
you
sure.
know?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that just frustrated me because it feels like this shouldn't be a mystery to Fitz, and the fact that he specifically is like, I don't know where that was, but it was great. I don't know. That just is really frustrating. And actually, I take that back. What I said earlier, he has knowingly done it because whenever Nettle was sick, he went running for her knowing that that was her reaching out to him being sick whenever he almost went to Nettle and then decided not to contact her. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Went on his years of wandering before he settled down?
Yeah, he told the story to Fool about how he had a skill dream that Nettle was really ill in Burrick's arms.
Yeah.
And it scared him so bad that he went to her and went to see if she survived the fever.
Right.
So obviously he does recognize when, I don't know, whatever. It's not the end of the world, but I don't know. I'm not happy about it. But the other thing I wanted to pick up on is the fact that there's no fish in this stream.
Yeah.
And clearly that's because there are hunting cats around. And if not just the hunting cats,
could be
in general, there is the one big hunting cat, Paladin, and Cat.
Could be.
That have been through this area recently.
Wasn't quite thinking that, but that could definitely be true. I was more thinking along the lines of earlier in the books, we got all of the different threats and claims that the Piebalds had made. And one of them was the fish didn't migrate where they should. And the Piebalds claimed that they did that to starve a village or something. So I was wondering if it was something along those lines.
Interesting.
It makes more sense that localized that there would be no fish there because another party went through and a cat. But like that's they fished all the fish out of the river. That's quite a feat.
Well, not just the cat that they're following specifically, but
there's
hunting cats are really common in this area.
Yeah,
clearly. So I don't know. So to me, I'm like, well, duh. You just got a lecture 2 nights ago from the huntsman about how the cats are native to this area.
That makes more logical sense for sure.
I just thought it was such a weird detail, and then Fitz at no point is like, I wonder if that has to do with the cats. Like, he's just like, no fish. There should be, though. Anyway.
Well, Nighteyes mentally shrugs and like, well, I guess we just got to keep going on.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. And he's rejecting Fitz's worry about him, his view of Nighteyes as an aging wolf that is hampered by his injury.
Right. Because Nighteyes has told Fitz before that Fitz's anxiety gives Nighteyes anxiety about aging, and he does not want that. So it is set aside, and Fitz does sort of, stop thinking about it to be nice. But Nighteyes tells Fitz to wake the others because they need to get going.
Mm-hmm. So in a short time, they head off. Prince's tracks are going north, and by noon, they find a old camp. It was well trampled, as if folk had camped there for several days. The mystery was easily solved. 2 trees bore the mark of a picket line. Someone had waited here. When the prince, the cat, and their companion arrived, they had departed together, north. Laurel and Fitz debated, and they decided that there were 2 others that joined the party. They had picked up 2 more companions. So they press on, increasing their pace as multiple tracks were easier to follow, so they didn't have to cast about for the trail as often. And they were trying to catch up, of course. Fitz is watching Nighteyes with growing concern because Nighteyes is still panting as he kept pace. And he wants to link more tightly with him, but doesn't dare do that in front of Laurel. And I'm guessing probably out of an abundance of caution for the area as well, because they're assuming that they're following witted people. But Fitz specifically remarks on the fact that he doesn't want to do it in front of Laurel.
Right. Well, it's unclear at this point to Fitz and a first-time reader how much Laurel knows. And
Right.
she clearly doesn't like Piebalds / the old-blooded people, but she also knows a lot about them, and maybe because she's not hating on them the way that normal people are, it's a ruse to try to like seem normal. And so there's the fear that she's obviously working with the people that abducted the prince, but also more fear that if she somehow knows more about how to sniff out old blood, she could reveal Fitz's secret.
Yeah. Eventually they get to a turning point in their chase here, I guess. The prince's trail crosses a dusty road, a wide road. And this is very bad because they could follow this road and not have any tracks for a long time. So Lord Golden turns to Fitz, raises his eyebrow, and Fitz understands that it's his role to skill out and try to find them. So he does. He skills out. And it goes off without a hitch, really. He just falls into the skill trance, reaches out, and looks around. He demands, "Where are you?" He says, "There might have been a twitch of response, but I had no assurance that it was the prince. After last night, I knew there was something else out there that reacted to my skill reaching, something that was not the prince. I could set my hand to it, almost. I forced myself to shift my attention away from that beckoning harbor and to reach out again for the prince, but he and the cat eluded me. I do not know how long I sat on my black and extended myself to the wide world. Time stands still in such a reaching. I could almost feel the fool waiting for me. No, I did feel him. A shimmering thread of skill let me know how he contained his impatience. I sighed and pulled myself back from the peaceful invitation in my fruitless reaching after the prince." He has no tidings to share with Lord Golden, and then just suggests, "They were going north, let's follow it north." "The road is more northeast than north," Lord Golden pointed out. I shrugged. "The other option is southwest," I replied. "Northeast it is," he concurred. And Fitz follows after him, and then glances at Laurel, who has a very puzzled look on her face, looking in between Lord Golden and Tom Badgerlock. After a moment, she came after us, and Fitz reviews in his head what happened, and he could have hit himself because he and Lord Golden did not follow their rules at all. Lord Golden looked to Fitz. Fitz did something and then suggested the direction of travel. Lord Golden is supposed to be the master here. He's supposed to be the one in charge. And Lord Golden just followed Fitz's suggestions.
Yeah, this chapter specifically is a lot of Fitz and Fool not playing their roles very well in front of Laurel and not doing a lot about it, no damage control, and then sort of I don't know, letting it get too far, which ultimately I think this chapter has changed my mind on the perceived problem coming ahead, where Fitz blames Fool for the rumors that are about to start, but of what's happening between Badgerlock and Golden. And ultimately I kind of feel like Fitz nails his own coffin shut with all of his advice to Fool and his actions in this chapter specifically. So I kind of feel like he's misplacing anger later, but we'll
in
keep
the future.
but we'll keep watching. But especially in this moment where they're not sort of following protocol, which also Lord Golden is supposed to be a lofty lord. Why would he be a great hunter? Why would he need 2 hunters with him and trackers if he could do it himself? Like, it makes sense that he would need his man to do the work. I don't see why that would be so perplexing to Laurel. I get that they're sort of being more familiar, but I don't know. I feel as though this whole thing could have been solved if they would have just told Laurel, hey, we knew each other before Lord Golden, and Lord Golden just doesn't want me to rub off on his personality in the court. Like, I'm not good enough to be his friend in public. It's whatever. It's our own thing. We're fine with it. Instead of playing this off as like, I don't know, that was weird, huh? Let's not say anything.
I think this interaction is still weird between Fitz and Lord Golden in Laurel's eyes, though. It's not, something that easily brushed aside as, oh, Lord Golden needs trackers. Let him lead everything. Because in that case, the tracker would know his place or her place, addressing a noble that is treated like royalty. They would be like, oh, I could not find them. The trail was going north before, so our options are to follow this northeast or whatever, or go back southwest. What would you like to do, my lord? And then Lord Golden would obviously follow the veiled suggestion of the tracker, but it would be Lord Golden's decision rather than being like, let's just go northwest or northeast or whatever it is.
I guess in my head, Fitz wanted to be sort of a gruff guy, right? Like, he wanted to be somebody that wasn't just a yes man. And so, and he's also out of practice.
You have to lay the groundwork for that, though.
I guess.
He came up with it in his head and told the fool that.
Yeah.
But there's not much groundwork or evidence for it, really. So Laurel coming into this relationship not knowing Tom Batcherlock at all, having heard of Lord Golden, I'm sure, and all of a sudden seeing like, this isn't how people, like servants, react around noble people. This is a weird thing.
I don't know. I just feel as though they could peel back a little bit of a layer for Laurel, especially because she's the queen's woman. Clearly, she's in the know for a lot of things and can be trusted. She can be trusted to know at least that there's a little bit more to this. This is a little bit of a ruse that they're putting on for the general public. Like I said, they could have played this off as like, oh, we're actually friends, but we have to keep up appearances in public for regular people, and you're trustworthy, so we forgot. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, they could have for sure. Then the other thing I wanted to talk about before we move on is just a continuation of what you said before about Fitz not knowing Nettle, because he once again brings it up. I want to avoid this safe harbor while I'm skilling someone out there.
Somebody's reaching.
He should put it together, but also very preoccupied right now, looking for the prince.
Sure.
So yeah, Laurel is a little bit suspicious now, but they do move on. They're following the road. And they rode on for the remainder of the daylight. Lord Golden ostensibly led us, but in reality we followed the road. Lights fading, and Fitz starts looking for a camping spot. Nighteyes kind of ranges ahead, and Fitz propels them to say, oh yeah, just a little bit further, we'll find something. And they go over a rise and see a village down there. There will be an inn down there, I wager, Lord Golden announced enthusiastically. Real beds, and we can get provisions for tomorrow. Dare we ask for word of the prince? Laurel asked. Our weary horses seemed to sense there might be something better than grass and creek water for them tonight. They picked up their pace as they went down the hill. I saw no sign of Nighteyes, but I had not expected to. I'll make some quiet inquiries, I volunteered. I imagined that Nighteyes was already doing that. If they had passed through the village and paused at all, the cat would have left some sign. And Lord Golden leads them to an inn built of black stone that I highlighted.
And boasting a second story.
Mm-hmm. The inn's name is the Piebald Prince.
And Fitz is sort of put off by both the name and the imagery on the sign. The image on the sign is of the Piebald Prince's head split neatly into 4 pieces. And it's not that this is like...
Well, no. It's him drawn and quartered. So it's his head and 4 other quarters of his body.
Yeah, I misread that. That's
which is a very common imagery, apparently, in the Six Duchies for the Piebald Prince. That's his most common way to be depicted.
Yes. So it's not that he's never seen it before, but it's just the context of what they're doing and what's happening right now, and the added danger of like going after the prince who is witted, and just knowing that that's potentially the fate awaiting him. That is really scary. And also clearly this is not a wit friendly area, because why would they have the piebald depicted that way if they liked him? So little bit of a bad feeling going into this situation, but it's what Lord Golden has picked, and they're back to their roles.
Probably the only inn in that village.
To be fair, yeah, you're right.
Lord Golden and Laurel go into the inn, and Fitz kind of takes care of the horses as the hostler is leading them away. He notes that Nighteyes is kind of nearby, so Fitz is alone. Nighteyes kind of brushes up against him, and with that touch, they can communicate a little bit more clearly. And Nighteyes says, "They were here. Be cautious. I smell man's blood in the street in front of this place. And dogs. Usually dogs are here, but not tonight." He blurred into the night before I could ask him any details. I went in through the back door with an uneasy heart and an empty belly. Inside, the innkeeper informed me that my master had already commanded his finest room, and I was to bring all the bags up. Wearily, I turned back to the stables. While I appreciated Lord Golden's ruse to let me have a good look inside the stables, I was suddenly afflicted with a weariness that I could be barely suppressed. Food and sleep. I didn't even need a bed. I would have been happy to drop where I stood.
So before we move on, I want to point out that this is the start of the skill stone affecting Fitz. Yeah. I think this is really well done. So that's why I wanted to call it out, because on my first read through, and even on this read through, I had to backtrack and be like, wait a second. Because at first it is not obvious that something is affecting Fitz.
Right. He's been described like that before when traveling. He's talked about how he's not used to the days in the saddle. And this does come on a little bit more suddenly without explanation from Fitz in his inner monologue, which is, if you're rereading this multiple times, you can be like, aha. But it doesn't really set off alarm bells.
No. And especially, I mean, you know that there's a black stone building, but usually skill stone has mentions of the silver flecked through it.
Yeah.
So blackstone doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be skill, and it's really easy to sort of skip over that, especially your first time through. And so I think it's just so nice that he's suddenly so tired, and it's probably because he hasn't had sleep or food in a while. And you think about this morning when he woke up and he had a great night's sleep, but there was no food, and he's talking about getting older and how he can't really travel as well as he used to. This isn't as easy as it once was. It makes sense if they've been riding all day since darkness that now he's getting sleepy. But he does know now where Fool and Laurel are, and he goes to join them.
Yeah, the stable has nothing of note in it. He grabs the bags and heads up. And Lord Golden, I kind of noted here, is, or probably also noticed their lapse in roles on the road, and he's taking full control of everything right now, kind of reinforcing like, hey, my good man, you've spent a long, hard day. Come join us at the table.
Oh, I should note, sorry. We skipped over this a little bit, but when he comes in and is told what's going on, he's also told by the innkeeper that he is expected by his master to fetch the bags, and the innkeeper will tell him what rooms to put them in. So I think that's also another little Lord Golden playing the part again of my man will get the bags, and not even telling Fitz himself, letting somebody else do it. And then Fitz has to go back to the stables to get the bags, which, like you said, there's not really much of note in the stables, but it's still a easy chance to get to look around.
Yeah, exactly. And so Fitz enjoys a wonderful mug of ale that is super refreshing after a hard day of work. He's still exhausted.
Also, okay, so this is something that's going to pop up. The stableman, whenever Fitz went in to grab the bags, smelled very strongly of smoke.
Yeah.
Capital S smoke. So it's the smokes that Regal enjoyed. And then later, while he's tired and acting kind of weird, Lord Golden has to play it off as the smoke getting to Fitz's head.
Right.
And I think Lord Golden does think of that. But weirdly, Fitz never mentions smoke being burnt or incense being burnt in the inn at all. And I feel like that's such a weird thing because other people smell of smoke, and Lord Golden obviously like has smoke burning in the room because he blames Fitz's attitude on it, but Fitz doesn't mention that there is smoke.
I don't know if he has smoke burning in the room at all, because the fool does know of Fitz's thing, and I don't think he would partake in that. Fitz went up some like back staircase, it seems like. He doesn't describe the common room at all.
Fair.
So I'm assuming Lord Golden and Laurel went in through the common room, talked to the innkeeper, got rooms, and were let upstairs, and Fitz took the back way. There must have been smoke in that common room.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Okay. I just thought that was kind of a weird detail that
fair.
Fitz would leave out, but also I think it shows how out of it he is and how little attention and details he's able to grasp when he is in the building.
Mm-hmm. Lord Golden had ordered food up to the room, but also said that I had bruised my arm. I need a slab of raw meat. So got an order for Nighteyes as well there. A short time later, I became aware that I had eaten more than I should have done and drunk more than was wise. I had that sodden, overly full feeling that is so miserable after one has been hungry all day. Lassitude crept over me. I tried to hide my yawns behind my hand and pay attention to the hushed conversation between Lord Golden and Laurel. Their voices seemed distant, as if a noisy river rushed between them and me. One of us should have a quiet look around, Laurel was insisting. Perhaps some questions asked downstairs would discover where they were going, or if they are known around here. It could be that they are close by. Tom, Lord Golden prodded me. I already have, I said softly. They were here, but they either moved on already or are at a different inn. If a town this size has more than one inn. I leaned back in my chair. Tom, Lord Golden asked me in some annoyance. In an aside to Laurel, he observed, it's probably the smoke. He's never had any head for it. Just walking through the fumes puts him into a fog. I pried my eyes open. Beg pardon? I asked. My own voice sounded thick and distant in my ears. How do you know they were here? Laurel demanded. Had she asked that before? I was too tired to think of a good answer. I just do, I replied shortly, and then directed my words to Lord Golden as if we had been interrupted. There's also been blood spilled in the street outside the inn. We should go carefully around here. So this is a very short section, but reading in between the lines, Laurel asks multiple questions, Lord Golden asks multiple questions, and Fitz just doesn't hear anything, really. He's kind of in and out of it and answers what he manages to catch.
Yeah, it's very not like Fitz. And again, I feel like this is when you can really tell something is up.
Yes.
But you could almost push it off as he just drank too much on accident or whatever. Like maybe he is just that tired, but it clearly is just a little bit more than that, which I think is so well done because Fitz himself is thinking like, oh, I'm just really tired. But I also want to talk a little bit about how the stone or the skill stone is affecting him, because I don't remember this being what happened when he was on the skill road. And maybe it's just because it's been too long since I read the first trilogy, but I know it made him sort of out of it, but I thought it was because he was seeing the people walking around. Like I remember the whole
He went in and out of that, I believe. He didn't always see them.
Okay. He just was super tired on the road.
Because I think he kept falling behind. Like he kept like a slow pace and everyone was pulling ahead, and
Mm,
eventually Kettle caught up to him because Kettle was following
right.
because she couldn't move as fast as everybody else, I think.
Okay. Oh, you're right, because they have that whole thing where his mind keeps wandering and she keeps trying to keep him
Yeah.
in the present. Okay.
And then
I do.
teaches him the stone game.
Yes. Okay. I do remember that. I was thinking about later when he almost falls off the road on the cliff because he's like
Oh,
following people that aren't there.
that's in Kelsingra.
Okay.
That's when there's that huge fissure in the middle of Kelsingra, and he's following the scene, and he almost fall like.
No, because when they're on the road in the mountain, the road splits off to go to Kelsingra,
Oh,
and
right. I
there are
remember that
people
part.
with like wagons, and
Yep.
he's like trying to figure out who they are. And
I remember
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So I guess that's why I was sort of like, shouldn't there be like visions or something that he's seeing? But
Yeah, that's a long exposure to the road for sure.
yeah. But then also when he is in Kelsingra, it immediately happens. And whenever he even leans against a building, he sees them.
That happens for everyone though too.
That's true.
Like if you just like touch the side of the wall, basically they all kind of spring to life.
Yes.
And the same in the Elderling city. Is it Kasserich or Trehogs? I forget which. Frengong is that city's name with
Yes.
Malta.
So yeah. So I don't know. So that was just something where I was like, oh, shouldn't he be seeing things? But I guess it doesn't always happen. And he's not touching the stone. So
Yeah.
no.
So Lord Golden obviously knows something is up, and he says, okay, early to bed, an earlier start is best for us. Doesn't allow Laurel to kind of question anything, rings the bell, gets the servants in, sends them off to bed. Fitz can't even attempt to do the roles right now, so just kind of lets the maidservant take Laurel's bag and is exhausted and can't really keep his eyes open almost. Our room was at the back of the inn on the ground floor. I dragged our baggage inside, closed the door behind for the departing servant, and opened wide the window. I found a nightshirt for Lord Golden and laid it out on his turned-down bed. I put the meat inside my shirt to take to Nighteyes later. Then I sat down on my bed to await Lord Golden's return. I awoke to someone shaking my shoulder gently. Fitz, are you all right? I came up slowly out of my dream. It took a moment or two to recall who I was. In my dream, I had been in another city, a populous, well-lit city. There had been music and many torches and lights, a celebration. I had not been a servant, but was... It's gone, I told the fool sleepily. So that's your visions. This is, I believe, how it started too. Fitz started having dreams on the road. I could be wrong about that.
I think
but
you're
that,
right too. And he had to
Yeah.
start like getting off the physical road.
Yes, he walked alongside it after Kettle told him to.
Yeah, he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah. He hears an odd scrabbling noise, and Nighteyes is leveraging himself into the room through the window. He thrust his nose into my face. I petted him absently. I felt so drowsy. My ears buzzed. The fool shook me again. Fitz, stay awake and talk to me. What's wrong? Is it the smoke? Nothing. It's just so peaceful. I want to go back to sleep. Sleep pulled at me like a retreating tide. I longed to recede with it. Nighteyes poked me again. Stupid. It's the black stone, like the Elderling road. You're getting lost in it again. Come outside. I forced my eyes open wider. I looked up into the fool's concerned face and then dazedly gazed at the walls that surrounded me. Black stone, veined with silver. And when I looked at it, I recognized it for what it was, stone scavenged from a much older building. The stones of the inner wall of the room fitted almost seamlessly together, but the outer wall was built more roughly. No, I suddenly knew that that wasn't completely right. The building predated the town, but it had been a ruin, rebuilt from the same ancient stone, and that ancient stone was memory stone, worked by elderling hands. Stones, memory stone, I told him thickly as I groped my way toward the fresh air. and he hears Lord Golden's astonished cry as Fitz just kind of flips over out the window.
Yes.
And he also hears Lord Golden vaguely saying, "Oh, it's my drunk manservant. Let him sleep outside.
Yeah.
Let him walk it off." So
because somebody
creates excuses.
says, yeah, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think this was really well done because we have Fitz sort of out of it. Fool is obviously very worried. And then you can tell how out of it he is because he is not alarmed or worried or even aware that Nighteyes is really like coming through the window until Nighteyes is at his face.
And doesn't get any thoughts from Nighteyes until the second time that Nighteyes pokes him.
Yes.
And initiates contact.
And it's really interesting to me it's shown that way where we can tell how off things are, but Fitz is still sort of like, no, I'm just so tired.
Right.
And we're like, Fitz, something's wrong.
Well, he falls out the window here and he's kind of laying in a stupor. All of his walls have been battered down by this memory stone. And he thinks he's overhearing a couple arguing. But with context, it's quite easy to determine that it is Dutiful and Paladine talking here.
Yes.
And it's not italicized like it's in the wit because in Fitz's mind, he's just overhearing them. They're nearby.
Yeah, she can, or it's italicized whenever Paladine is talking.
Yeah.
Because he is hearing that wit. But it's really confusing because I don't think that this happened as Fitz. Like, I don't think Fitz is overhearing it right now.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it's in person because later Laurel says that they were chased out in the morning, right?
Yeah. I think it's happening right. What I'm saying is that Fitz thinks he's listening into a conversation that's nearby, but he really connected with the skill because his walls are down to Dutiful. And it is happening at this same time.
Okay.
But they're at a campsite. Just at night, they pause to rest.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just misunderstood what you're saying. Yeah, I was thinking, I guess I also had no idea what was happening. To be fully honest, I was like, is this like a residual from the memory stone? So he's like remembering what happened earlier? Like, what is happening here? I don't know.
Yeah, this is Dutiful as a young boy, 14, 15, getting a realization that, oh my God, things are more serious than I thought. Somebody died.
Yeah, I need to go home.
Yeah.
This is not.
And that's what he first says. I should go home. He sounded very young. I should go back to my mother. If I had not left her, none of this would have happened. Arno would still be alive. And those others. She inserted her head under his arm and then rested it on his chest. That's true. And we would be apart, you forever given to another. Is that truly what you want? They had drifted closer. With him, I breathed the sweet scent of her, musky and wild. He held her close. The wind blew through my dream of them, tattering the edges. He stroked her fur, her long dark hair threaded through his fingers. It isn't what I want, but perhaps it is my duty. Your duty is to your people, and to me. She wrapped her hand around his forearm, her fingernails pressed against his flesh like claws. She tugged at him with them. Come on, it is time to get up again. We cannot tarry, we must ride. He looked down into her green eyes. My love, I must go back. I would be more useful to all of us there. I could speak out, I could press for change, we would be apart. Could you stand that? I would find a way for us to be together. No! She cuffed his cheek and her palm rasped against his skin. There was a hint of claws in the gesture. No, they would not understand. They would force us apart. They would kill me and perhaps you too. Recall the tale of the Piebald Prince. His royal blood was not enough to protect him. Yours would be no shield to you. A pause, then. I am the only one who truly cares about you. Only I can save you. But I dare not come to you completely until you have proven you are one of us. Always you hold back. Are you ashamed of your old blood? No, never that. And that's also italicized.
Yes.
Dutiful has been speaking out loud this whole time, and then he responds in his head. No, never that. Then open yourself. Be what you know you are. He was silent for a long time, and then out loud he says, I have a duty, he said softly. Infinite regret was in his voice. And then someone behind him says, get him up. The man's voice came from behind me. There's no time for delay. We need to gain some distance. Fitz twists around on the ground to see who spoke, but he doesn't see anybody there, obviously. And the cat ends at Paladine says at the end here, trust me, she begged him, and he had to do as she requested. Later you can think of these things. Later you can think of duty. For now, think of living and of me. Get up. And Fitz comes back to himself with the fool saying, up you get.
Yes. So I want to take a second to talk about how bad this relationship is between Paladine and the prince. I think there are a lot of like pretty iffy relationship in this series, and we've talked a lot about all of them up until this point. But this one is exceedingly
so gross.
Yeah, gross. And it's not like just age gap and maturity thing. This is manipulative and toxic and just
knowingly grooming a young prince whom Paladine hates.
Yes.
To take over his body.
Yeah. It's just a lot of prep for violation and awful. And I think it is just awful to read this chapter as a grown-up.
Yeah.
And somebody who like can recognize these signs in their relationship, especially. It's really heartbreaking to see that Dutiful is in this situation, I think, especially because
her saying, I am the only one who can save you. I'm the only one who cares about you.
Just sowing the distrust, making him
reliant on her.
Making him reliant on her, but also sort of trapping him in like, don't you love me? Like, I thought you loved me. I guess you don't care about me. I guess like your duty is more important than me.
False equivalencies there, lady. Come on.
And it's just really heartbreaking because poor Dutiful does not understand that he's being toyed with and that he is being manipulated. And he's just trying to do the right thing. And I think it really shows that he ultimately is this person who wants to do the right thing. And even when he says he wants to go back, it's not to get rid of her. It's not to end their relationship. It's so that they can be together for real and so that he can speak out on what he's seeing.
Right.
Because he didn't realize how bad it actually was. And he wants to incite change, and he knows that he's in a position where he could do that. And he could.
And he's just been awakened to the fact that he does have the wit.
Yes. And I think it's really sad to me that the Piebalds and especially Paladine can't recognize that like they could just have an ally through normal means. Like if they just friended him.
That's not their goal though.
That's not their goal. But I mean, like if they would have just given their plight, like this isn't Regal. This isn't some evil bad prince who hates witted people anyway.
It's a teenage boy.
It's a teenage boy, and he is part of the community.
Yeah.
And he is also somebody who didn't realize up until now probably that he was witted. And even before that, probably didn't know all of the horrible things happening to witted people, because there's no way for the prince to know everything happening in the country, especially because it's not like Chade is going to give up that information.
Well, and even if he might have been informed of this as the prince, Kettricken probably would not have shielded him.
No.
But there is a difference between experiencing it, and we had a whole conversation about that in the last trilogy, across the whole trilogy, for understanding that something is bad and then experiencing it.
Yes.
Like Wintro with slavery. He's like, yeah, slavery's bad. And then he sees it and he becomes one. He's like, oh my gosh, this is awful.
This is actually way worse than I was understanding.
There's a difference between that. And I think that's what Dutiful is experiencing now. Like, oh, we did just get chased out of town because we're different. Somebody did die. Somebody sacrificed their life so we could get away.
And nothing happened. It wasn't like...
Yeah, and they're being cheered and celebrated, the people who are chasing us.
Yeah, I think it's the heartbreak to me is twofold. One, that Dutiful is being hurt in this way.
Right.
And betrayed and groomed like this. and the other because he is ultimately just such a good person, and he has such a like hopeful attitude and a desire to change things and the power behind the desire, right? Like it's not often
Right.
that the people in charge are able to experience something that allows them to gain more empathy
Like the
and more
satrap.
understanding. Yes. Yes.
And even though the satrap isn't, an amazing person now, he's more well-rounded.
Yeah, he got way better like from where he started.
Yeah.
Still bad person, but like he did get substantially better.
Yeah.
It's just really frustrating. And I don't want to like fully blame all of the Piebalds for this plan, especially because we know only like some of them know of the real plan.
Yeah.
But even of those some that know of the real plan, it's not their fault for thinking they needed to go to this drastic measure. Like look
Not
at
at all.
what the royal family has done to them just in the last generation.
Right.
Like this is fresh, this is new. Of course they're thinking extremes. Of course they're thinking there is no way we're going to get through to them. We need to become them.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand where that's coming from. It's just really frustrating. Number one, to target a child like that to be part of your plan, but number two, to not be able to understand that like, hey, this isn't the big bad we thought it was.
Yeah.
And like also we have an ally now. So maybe we need to reassess because they're grown-ups and like, yes, they're being mistreated and being horribly, I don't know, just they're being treated horribly in public and in private. However, I feel like you need to be able to be adaptable when,
Right.
especially in this situation, and the fact that none of them are willing to bend the knee, so to speak, is kind of frustrating. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to watch her try to manipulate him in this way and act like you can't tell anybody. Nobody will trust you but me. Like I'm the only person you have to rely on. It's just so, the added layer of him being like 14 years old, just 15, I guess. Not great. But Fitz is coming too. He is coming out of it. And I don't think he ever acknowledges that again or understands that that was dutiful.
No, that's basically Robin Hobb putting into the reader like, hey, this is what's going on. Isn't this a mystery?
Yeah.
Why are they getting chased? And there is something from Paladine here. There is a desperation, right? It's just like, no, you have to trust me. Like we have to keep running. You cannot turn back now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it is really interesting that it's not even.
He's so out of it.
He's
like,
so,
he's
and even
so
later when
discombobulated.
when he hears about what happens, he still doesn't piece it together.
Right.
At no point does he realize,
because he was overhearing this from a couple that was next to him, like down the road.
Even though he's like smelling her scent and looking through the eyes of the
Right.
dude. Yeah, I don't know. It's Fitz.
Well, I mean, when you just had a dream where you were somebody else.
I know.
Well.
I mean, I'm being harsh. What else is new? But yeah.
So the fool is very concerned. He's like, are you going to be all right? I think so. The cobwebs were clearing from my mind, but the feel of these cobwebs were more familiar. I felt the familiar twinges of a skill headache, but they were less determined than usual. I drew a deep breath. I'll be all right, but I don't think I should try to sleep in the inn tonight. It's built from memory stone, fool, like the Black Road, like the stone in the quarry. Like the dragon Verity carved, he filled in. It's full of memories. It's so strange to find stone like that here in Buck. I never supposed the Elderlings had come this far. Of course they had. Think about it. What do you think the old witness stones are, if not Elderling handiwork? His words shocked me. Then it was so obvious that I didn't waste time agreeing. Yes, but standing stones are one thing. That inn is the rebuilt remains of an Elderling structure. I'd never expected to see that here in Buck. And then the fool takes a little time to sit there and think and has some sort of a epiphany or thought saying, sometimes I get so caught up in the immediate puzzle that I overlook the pieces of the larger question that are all around us, he said as if confessing a fault. So, are you all right now? The Fool found something profound in that statement by Fitz, that there was settlements here in the Six Duchies of the Elderlings.
Yeah, and I think it probably has something to do with, if I had to take a guess, to do with the fact of how widespread Elderlings and also dragons were.
Right, and that's, as a reminder, that's the Fool's ultimate goal. He's not
Right.
trying to do these small little steps. He's trying to bring dragons back to the world, and I think that's what the Fool was hinting at, too. He's like, oh, I was so focused on these individual steps that I forgot the larger puzzle is, where were dragons, how did they disappear, and how do I bring them back?
Yes.
And this is a piece of that puzzle, is that Elderlings were also here.
Yeah.
And established, and they had permanent structures, not just these stones.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I don't understand why there would be one building in the middle of a random town in Buck, but I guess, I don't know. I mean, the witness stones are everywhere, like they said. Also, hate the fact that Fitz is like, witness stones are elderling made? And then doesn't argue it because it seems so obvious once he thinks about it. And the only reason that bothers me is because I distinctly remember them knowing that in the end of the last trilogy, when they're dealing with traveling around through the stones to that little village and back to the quarry. Like, I don't know.
I think there's a difference there, because witness stones are so embedded in the structure and the society of Six Duchies. They're part of their justice system. They're part of the folk tales of the beginnings of this civilization, and there's no real mystery around them besides, like, these are kind of witnesses of the gods, right? Like, there's no,
Well, I mean,
there's no such, like, specific magic. There's stories about people disappearing into them, things like that, and maybe they made the connection there. But again, I think it's one of those things that they found these traveling stones, these pillar with symbols on them beyond the mountains, and all of the witness stones that were described they're weathered beyond recognizable. Like, you can't recognize anything that was ever on them, even if they were carved. So I feel like it's something that Fitz, just because it's so blindingly obvious to him now, he just doesn't waste time
Right.
even agreeing to it. He's just like, of course they are. I feel like the pieces were there in his mind, but he never needed to put them together, because the witness stones were a Six Duchies history thing, and those traveling stones were elderling things. And it's like, oh, duh, they're the same thing now that he thinks about it. But
I guess I just thought that there was specifically a scene where they're like, this looks like the witness stones, when they're like in that little village where the Fool has the vision of being
yeah,
the White Prophet from forever ago. That, I don't know.
Remember, that isn't a village at all. There is nothing there.
No, it's just the like
a sideways
what
sideways
is it called?
stone, and then it's like some foundations a little bit beyond the hill or something.
Yeah, I guess it's more ruins, if anything.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there like a fence by the stones or something? Because
it's a horizontal stone. It's like laying on its side, and the Fool hops up onto it, I think.
I thought it was a stone fence, and
Oh.
that's what he's standing on.
Maybe. Either it does not matter
It
that much.
literally does not matter, but in this moment, it does not matter. But okay,
But yeah, I think it's just one of those things, just like a division in his brain of like,
sure.
this is part of this story. Witness stones are Buckkeep thing,
Okay.
like Six Duchies thing.
That makes me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, the Fool is very concerned about Fitz. Like, are you sure you're all right? And Fitz is like, yeah, I'll be fine. I just can't be around this stone.
Yeah. Also, just random aside, but when Fool is thinking really hard about what Fitz is talking about, he's chewing on his thumbnail, and when he realizes Fitz is watching him, he immediately stops
Yeah.
and then starts talking. I wanted to point that out because I think this is a characteristic trait. Number one, that Amber did a lot, but number two, that I don't know that we saw the Fool do
Right.
as with Fitz before
Oh.
now.
Yeah.
And so I think it's
Maybe
really
it's just a habit that he picked up for Amber and like is bringing back now.
Because I'm pretty sure Amber used to do that whenever she was dealing with Paragon specifically. When Paragon couldn't see, Paragon could tell that she's like chewing on her thumb.
Interesting call out, because I don't specifically remember that, but it seems familiar. It seems like we've gotten that description before, but I don't remember Fitz pointing it out.
Exactly. So I think, and I don't even know if it's like Amber specific. I'm wondering if this is Beloved specific. Yeah. This is like a little tiny slip up of Beloved's character coming through, and then like not wanting to share that. It's too
like,
vulnerable.
This is a bad habit.
Also,
I can't let Fitz see it. He'll think I'm gross.
I know people who chew their nails don't like that they do it, so it could also just be like, oops, should stop doing that.
And Fitz says, are you sure you can get back around dressed like this? Because the fool is dressed in like all black. And Lord Golden is offended. Like, just because I'm playing this part does not mean I've forgotten all the tumbling skills.
Just because I sometimes wear the clothes of a nobleman, don't think I have forgotten all the tricks of a tumbler. And then he deftly climbs through the window. So,
yes, yeah.
Although it is on the first floor. So not really proving his point.
Fitz says, I'm going to take a walk around town to, quote, clear my head, and I'll see what I can discover. If you can make the opportunity, go to the common room, stir the gossip pot, and see if you hear anything of strangers with a hunting cat passing through here yesterday. I started to add something about bloodshed in the street, but stopped myself. There was very little chance that it was directly related to us. And it's not, but it's related to the quarry that they're chasing.
Well, I think that's... It's hard. Sometimes I get mad at characters for not knowing the whole picture like I do as a reader. This is kind
of understandable, you know? Like, it's just an offhand comment that Nighteyes made. Like, yeah, there was blood from a man
yesterday.
In the streets. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just feels like it happened so recently and we're looking for somebody who would have just been here. Maybe we just double check that it doesn't have anything to do with it instead of being like, there's no way. So... I don't know, whatever. He ultimately finds out that it does matter. It does have something to do, but it's annoying to me as a reader who knows that it does have something to do with it. That he's like, no way it's going to bother us or we need to know. Okay, Fitz.
They say their goodbyes, and as Fitz is about to leave, Fool says, wait, I need to talk to you. I've been meaning to talk to you all day. I did not think this would be so hard. I've played so many roles in my life. I thought it would be easy, that it might even be fun to play master to your man. It's not. No, it's hard, but I think it's wise. We've blundered too many times with Laurel. I shrugged helplessly. That is as it is. She knows we were both chosen by the Queen. Perhaps we can leave her in confusion and let her draw her own conclusions. They might be more convincing than anything we could fabricate. He cocked his head and smiled. Yes, that tactic pleases me. For now, we shall discover what we can tonight and plan an early start in the morning. And they separate.
So...
This is what you were talking about before.
Yeah. So this is a lot of my frustration with Fitz's role in this misunderstanding. So Fitz's advice for fixing the problem is to do nothing, which is not surprising because that's Fitz's favorite thing to do, is just let somebody else figure it out, which does work in some circumstances. I'm not saying that's a crazy and a thing to do or that it doesn't work sometimes for him, but I think it is a little bit crazy to do in this circumstance and then get mad later
at the conclusions that Laurel draws.
Yes. If there's a specific conclusion you don't want her to be drawing, maybe work on a way to make sure she doesn't draw that conclusion.
He didn't even think of that possibility. So
no, but I think that's what makes me a little bit frustrated with Fitz is because he's mad at the conclusion later. That's on you, buddy. You let her draw that conclusion. Like, I'm not saying that he can't be upset at the perceived notion that he might be gay. Whatever, that's his own deal. I'm saying it's frustrating that he, number one, blames the fool, and then number two is mad that the fool's not doing anything either when he specifically tells the fool, don't do anything. Like, let people draw their own conclusions. It's more convincing that way.
I mean, the Fool loves this tactic as well, because this plays right into the Fool's character flaws, because Beloved doesn't like to manipulate people and lie to people at all, and wants at the end to be like, aha, I didn't lie to you at all. You lied to yourself. See?
Yeah.
I'm perfect and clever.
Valid. Yeah. I mean, definitely a little bit of the Fool as well, but the Fool got this idea from Fitz. I think and I think that justifies Beloved's anger later, not just for the fact that Fitz is being rude about,
we'll see. We'll talk
I
about
wouldn't
that.
sleep with you, but like, I think it's sort of like, hey, this is something we were both doing. Like, it's not my fault. And so, I don't know.
We'll talk about that.
We will talk about it when it comes up. I just want to prep for it. This chapter is making me sort of think like, hey, Fitz is actually playing a lot more active of a role for the reason that the rumor starts.
Actively passive.
Actively passive. But like, it's his decision to do it this way. He's the one sort of slipping up more than Lord Golden.
It's not just a rumor started through Laurel either.
No. And that's fair. It just is one of those things where, for once, I feel like maybe everybody's being a little harsh on Fitz. But I do understand that like the whole thing is really touchy and there's a lot of layers to it that we will discuss all of those later. But I think one of the layers that we can discuss now is that part of Fitz's anger is really misplaced. And clearly he is going through a lot, especially with his grief and the shock of the idea. But clearly this is sort of stemming from something that he has started. He has lit the match. He's not innocent in what ends up happening.
They split up and go their separate ways. The Fool back through the window, Lord Golden through the window, and Fitz throughout the town. And Fitz meets up with Nighteyes. What news? I asked him. Bad news. Keep silent and follow. And they go not to the main streets of town, but away from its center. I wondered where we were going, but dared not reach forth to touch minds with him. I curbed my wit, though it dulled my senses not to share the wolf's awareness. We ended up in a rocky field near the river's edge. He took me to the edge of it, where large trees grew. The tall, dry grasses had been tramped down flat there. I caught a whiff of cooked meat and cold ashes. Then my eyes pieced together the length of rope still hanging from a tree and the burned-out fire beneath it. I stood very still. So he finds a place where, as we learned, Arno was hanged, burned, thrown into the river.
Right.
They were very, very thorough here. Coldness moved through me where blood had once flowed. Townsmen had done this, and now they ate and laughed and sang songs at the inn. They had done this to someone just like me, perhaps to the son of my body. No, the blood does not smell right. It was not him. It was a small comfort. It only meant that he had not died today. Did the townsfolk hold him somewhere? Was the lively night at the inn in anticipation of more blood sport on the morrow? I became aware of someone coming softly through the night towards us. She came from the direction of the town lights, but did not walk on the road. She came through the trees at the edge of the road, moving near soundlessly. Hunting woman. And Laurel steps out.
I think that this is a really harrowing scene, especially because it really reminds the reader of how real this is, right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't... The violence happening to witted people isn't just people accusing you and you die. It's this horrific death that is done to witted people, and it's being celebrated. And especially with Fitz,
it's a lynching.
Yeah, it is. And we have Fitz as our main character who could be the next victim, and so could Dutiful, and so could all the people he's with. And it's just so like sobering to read the real consequences of people finding out that someone is witted and just how bad things have gotten, because this wasn't something that would be normal when Fitz was a child, and Fitz is only mid 30s.
Right.
So a lot has changed in the last 15 years, and it's really saddening to
Mm-hmm.
see, and especially knowing how happy the townspeople were.
Yeah.
Like, they were celebrating in town, and it was over the death of a person. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, these are also people, but they can't see their fellow man in a witted person.
Right.
And that's so saddening.
Laurel steps out and moves as Fitz did, checking the fire and different things around the camp. And Fitz stands up, making noise so she knows she's not alone, and then asks, "How long ago?" She spins to confront whoever was there and then sighs in relief when she recognizes him and says, "Just this afternoon. My maid told me about it. Bragged, actually, of how the lad she is to marry was right in the thick of it, getting rid of the piebald. That's what they call them in this valley. Piebalds. So you came out here to see what was left to be seen, which isn't much. I feared it might be our prince, but no. Nighteyes was leaning heavily against me, and I shared what we both suspected, but I think it was one of his companions. If you know that much, then you know the others fled. I hadn't known that, but I was shamefully relieved to hear it. Were they pursued? Yes, and the men who chased them off have not returned yet. Some chased, some stayed to kill the one they had caught. It is planned that the ones who did this," she indicated the rope in the fire circle with a disdainful kick, "will ride out in the morning. There is some anxiety that their friends have not returned yet. Tonight they'll drink and build up both their courage and anger. Tomorrow they'll ride. Then we had best ride out before them, and swifter."
So I think this is really interesting to see Laurel react to what has happened to the witted person, because as a rereader, we know her history, but even just as a normal reader with her background, it's so unclear where she falls about
Yeah.
how she feels about people with the old blood. And I think in this moment, like, the disgust she has for what has happened is so clear. Like, she does not agree with this, even though before she was so angry that witted people would exist and take partners and have children when
And they should be whipped if they teach it to their children.
Yes, like, she clearly has very strong opinions and she doesn't like them, but it hasn't crossed over into that point where she doesn't see them as human, which I think is really big and a big part of the difference between the hateful mobs and then just somebody who doesn't like this magic, this other magic.
Right. They walk back in near silence, but Fitz has to interrupt to ask more questions. He doesn't want to, but he asks, "Did she tell you many details? How or why they were attacked, if the boy and the cat were with them?" "The one they killed was not a stranger. He was one of their own, and they had suspected him of beast magic for a long time. The usual stupid stories, that when other lambs died of the scours, his survived, that a man angered him, and after that the man's chickens died off. He came to town today with strangers, one a big man on a war horse, one with a cat riding behind him. The others with him were also known to these folk, boys who had grown up on outlying farms. There are usually dogs at the inn. The innkeeper's son keeps rabbit hounds, and he had just returned from the hunt. The dogs were still excited. At the sight of the cat, the dogs went mad. They surrounded the horse, leaping and snapping. The man with the cat, our prince most likely, drew his blade to defend the cat and slashed at the hounds, cutting an ear off one. But that was not all he did. He opened his mouth wide and snarled, hissing like a cat. At the commotion, some other men boiled out of the inn. Someone shouted, 'Piebald!' Another cried for a rope and a torch. The man on the warhorse laughed at them and put his horse to kicking out at both dogs and men. One man was kicked to the ground by the horse, and the mob responded with rocks and curses. The Piebalds broke the circle and tried to ride off, but a lucky stone caught one of the riders in the temple and knocked him from his saddle. The mob closed on him, and he yelled at the others to ride. The girl made them all out to be cowards for fleeing, but I suspect that the one they caught delayed the mob so his companions could escape. He bought the prince's life with his own. So it would seem." So that scene also shows Fitz that this is an organized cause with people who believe in that cause. So it's going to
Yes.
be even harder than they possibly thought to get the prince out, because what if the prince has bought into their cause now?
Yeah, it's very clear that there's more going on, and it's kind of scary. It once again getting real that there are a lot of really bad consequences and also a lot more below the surface than at first they're thought.
Yeah. And he confirms that Dutiful was not recognized through Laurel here. Then that's a good thing, but also Fitz says it out loud, so if they did catch up to them, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him at all
Right.
because they wouldn't recognize him as a prince.
Yeah.
So he's just another one with beast magic.
Yeah. And before that, he's also thinking on this group and sort of like, not only is one guy willing to die for this group, but they did not deny that they had wit magic, and they did not do anything to try to quell the mob that was starting.
It's insightful. It's not trying to placate anything.
Yeah, this isn't just a group that wants to be left alone. That's
not insightful, inciting.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's okay. But yeah, so the group really, it's not even just a group that is trying to be peaceful, that wants to live side by side in some way. They seem to be more active in pursuing the torment. They're not. Yeah, they're not shying away from confrontation, which doesn't mean that their end goal isn't peace, but it isn't looking good for the now.
Right. Laurel chimes into Fitz's thing about the not recognizing the prince, saying even knowing he was the prince would not delay them. The hatred of the old blood runs deep here. They would think that they were cleansing the royal line, not destroying it. Some part of me marked that she called them old blood now. I did not think I had heard her use the phrase before. Well, I think time becomes even more precious. We should ride on tonight, she says. And of course he's aching.
Yes.
Now comes in the thoughts of like, oh my gosh.
I'm so tired. Yep. I didn't really get any sleep. I have this skill headache coming on.
Also, Nighteyes is weary beyond weariness, and I knew it was a false strength that moved his limbs now. Soon his body would demand rest, no matter how hard the circumstances. He needed food and healing time, not to be dragged on tonight. I'll keep up, or you'll leave me behind and do what you must. The fatalism in that thought shamed me. The sacrifice was too close to what a man had done today for a prince. The inarguable truth was that once more I spent all our strength for a king and a cause. The wolf yielded up the days of his life to me for an allegiance he understood only in terms of his love for me. Black Rolf had been right all those years ago. It was wrong of me to use him so. I made a child's promise to myself that when this was over, I would make it up to him somehow. We would go somewhere he wanted to go and do something he longed to do. Our cabin and the fireside. That would be enough for me. It is yours. I know. Oh my gosh,
that made me cry reading it as a rereader. Spoiler alert, and that never gets to happen. And that's so sad. I hate what's coming. It's bad enough when a pet dies, but like
when Robin Hobb has to do this,
it's just like, yeah, don't worry, old Yeller. We'll get you back to the farm. Like, no, you won't. Stop. Don't make promises you don't know if you can keep. I hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, but only because it's so sad. I don't know. It made me cry. I'm tearing up thinking about it. I don't like it. I don't like what's coming.
Yeah.
And it's so like, I feel bad. I've really been mistreating, but it's also really sad for the fact that Fitz is viewing it in this way, I guess. Like, he's viewing this as like giving up his life and vitality for the crown. And this has otherwise nothing to do with him. And it's just such a waste of time and life. And I kind of hate that he feels that way. I don't blame him for feeling that way, obviously. He has a right to feel that way. But I feel bad that it's his family. You know what I mean? Like, this is helping his family. This is helping a cause that hopefully he believes in. But
yeah, I mean, he's not saying that for himself, though.
No,
he's saying that on behalf of Nighteyes.
Yeah, but he is also mentioning himself in that, like, I'm wasting time here when I could be enjoying life. But like, were you enjoying life when you weren't doing this?
Again, I think that's more framed in the I'm wasting time here when I could be with Nighteyes, just doing something we both liked. You know, I'm forcing him to my life again. Black Rolf was right that way.
I guess. I don't know. It's sad to think of it in those terms when you've shared the companionship with Nighteyes, and if Nighteyes didn't want to be here, he wouldn't be.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I know that, again, like Fitz mentions, he doesn't understand the politics of it all, but I don't know. I think Nighteyes is fine. He obviously doesn't like being there. This is not an enjoyable time for him, but he likes being with Fitz.
Well, he won't be fine.
You know what? You didn't have to say that.
They return back to the inn here, and Laurel says, okay, I'm going to go pack, wake Lord Golden, and we tell him that we must ride out.
But Fitz doesn't even get the chance to wake Lord Golden because as he goes in the back way, Lord Golden is yelling at the innkeeper, the like owner of the inn, saying there are bed bugs. And I
cannot stay here.
Yeah, I will not stay in a place with bed bugs. It's disgusting. Give me a refund. I am going to the other inn. And there is another inn. And the innkeeper tries to say, like, you're never going to get in this time of night. There's just no way. Like, please, I'll give you a better room. Please don't leave, please. And he's like, too late. There you are, Tom. You need to go pack our things. We are leaving. And he's all indignant that he could possibly be in this horrible little room. And it is all a ruse.
Yes, they get mounted up, they head out, and after a little bit, Lord Golden's voice carried softly to both of us. I heard the gossip in the tap room and judged it best we leave immediately. They fled on the road. By going in the dark, we take a large chance on missing their trail, I pointed out. I know. But by waiting, we might arrive too late to do anything but bury him. Besides, none of us could sleep, and this way we go ahead of those who will ride out tomorrow. He joins up with Nighteyes, questing out. And, linked by the wit, Nighteyes could not hide from Fitz the effort that cost him, trotting up to lead the way. I winced, but accepted his decision. I nudged my black to keep pace with him. Our saddle packs seem bulkier than when we first arrived, I observed to the knight as my black came abreast of Malta. Lord Golden lifted one shoulder in a careless shrug. Blankets, candles, anything else I thought might prove useful to us. I ghosted the kitchens once I knew that we'd have to be on the road swiftly, so there is bread in that sack as well, and apples. If I'd taken much more than that, it would have been noticed. Try not to crush the loaves. One would think you two had done this sort of thing before, Lord Golden. There was an edge to Laurel's tone, and just enough query on the honorific to sober us both. When neither of us came up with words, she added, I don't think it quite fair that I share the risks of this venture, but still go blindfolded between you. Lord Golden spoke in his best aristocratic tone. You are right, huntswoman. It is not fair, yet that is how it must remain for a time. For unless I am mistaken, we need to put on some speed, as our prince left this town at a gallop, so shall we. And he springs forward into a gallop. The other horses follow, and Fitz sends a thought after Nighteyes. Later, my brother.
I feel as though I've been thinking it over. I keep trying to figure out different excuses they could have made, which, like, they didn't, so it doesn't matter. But, like, Laurel knows that Fitz helped Kettrikin
in the past. During the Red Ship Wars, yes.
Yes. So why couldn't Lord Golden have also helped? And they vaguely knew of each other, but they have like camaraderie the way men do whenever they both did manly things similarly. You know what I mean? I don't know. Not to be like stereotypical, but like, hello, you're making up a lie. Who cares? Like,
sometimes it's such a shame that this is just an audio format because like the faces and little like ticks that you do when you make your voices is so funny.
Sorry that you all are missing out on seeing the goofy
the
faces.
Manly men.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you could play into stereotypes in that way. There are so many things they could do, and instead they're both like, we're not gonna talk about it. So in that vein, Lord Golden spurs on the horse, and they have no choice but to follow after and leave Nighteyes behind, sadly.
Yep, they let the horses run until they wanted to slow down and breathe, and as soon as Malta tugged at her bit, Lord Golden let her have her head, and we were off again. The two were more of one mind than I had realized. It was his complete trust that gave her such cheeky confidence. We rode through what remained of the night, and Lord Golden set our pace. As dawn grayed the skies, Laurel spoke my thoughts aloud. At least we have a good start on those who intended to ride out at dawn and see what luck their fellows had in hunting the Piebalds. And clearer heads. She left unspoken a fear I knew we all shared, that we had lost the prince's trail in our haste to follow him. They just had to trust to luck or to believe in fate as the fool did.
Right. Which, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it is a really tough call, right? Like, what is the best choice to go?
Right.
But you do know that they were also hastily moving forward. I guess that makes it more likely that they jump off at a certain point. But it's easier to just stay on the road and keep going. It's already flat and you can get ahead of whoever's chasing you. I don't know.
Just have to be lucky, I guess.
Yeah. Which, it's Fitz. He's a catalyst.
That's the chapter. We get to firsthand see some of the consequences of the rising tensions between Old Blood and the folk of Six Duchies that has been talked about, and we've heard harrowing things before, like from Hap, but this is a firsthand description of the smell of, cooked meat, the ashes, the hanging rope still.
Yeah.
And the celebration of the town.
Yeah, I think it's such a well done picture that's created. I think during the first trilogy, we had a writer comment or a listener comment that Robin Hobb doesn't picture things in her mind. She said in an interview, and neither did this person who wrote in. And so I was wondering if she does imagery well in the books, and I think that this is a really good example of well done imagery
without having to specifically picture something in your mind, really. Because it's I can picture the scene because I can do that, but there's nothing in there that is directly described. It's just an atmosphere with a picture of or an image of a fire pit, there's a river nearby, and a tree. But like in my head, I can put that all together and create this gloomy, dark, creepy atmosphere that's somber.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like, even if it isn't describing every little detail, enough of the details are in there that it does color in a picture really well to me. I guess maybe if you don't picture things in your mind, you're not able to do that, please write in and let us know if you agree that this is good imagery. Gives you enough of an idea of what's going on. But
I really like this chapter.
Yeah. I mean, it's like horrible the things that happen around it are. It is really well done. There are a lot of aspects writing wise that I love. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, if you have thoughts on the chapter, please let us know. Email us at isfitzhappy@gmail.com, or as always, you can go to our website, isfitzhappy.com or isfitzhappy.podbean.com to find all of our links to our social medias where you can comment. We're at Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Reddit, YouTube. So let us know what you got going on. Let us know any memes that you thought of. Let us see any pictures of your pets you want to share. Let us know theories on these things. Let us know theories on the previous trilogies. Anything you got going on. We'd like to read it. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you. All right, now it's time for our favorite part of the podcast. And we are going to start with some stuff that you guys brought to our attention through Instagram DM. We'll start first with a DM we got from Audrey. And Audrey was thinking a little bit about episode 266, about why Dutiful can't feel Nighteyes before seeing him.
Yeah.
They say, I think that Fitz uses the wit since childhood, maybe more than his eyes, to sense everything around and everyone around him. But Dutiful is a prince and has an education that doesn't allow that. Plus, he's intoxicated on the purpose to become the cat and then possessed by Paladine. Or maybe they just don't have the same level or use of the wit.
Yeah, so Dre's kind of on that same idea that Fitz has been using the wit unknowingly for a bit, but then knowingly for a long time.
Yes.
And was made aware of that and exercised its use, and could be because Fitz is just stronger, as he says that later on.
Right.
But
also, I mean,
that
Fitz,
experience using it.
Yeah, Fitz also literally spent a bunch of time being raised in a barn.
Right, yeah.
So I guess stable, sorry. But he was raised in a stable around animals and just in general would have had more access to animals than a prince would have. I know that the prince would probably ride a horse and go hunting and do all that.
Direct contact with
not like
animals.
Prolonged contact with animals. So that could also be part of it, of just this is so new.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. And I think everyone kind of unanimously agrees that Fitz is also super strong in the wit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Thank you, Audrey.
Then we also got a DM from Gil talking about episode 267. And broken down to a couple parts. So the first thing was that Fitz wears green and yellow and really dislikes it, but green and yellow are the Withywood colors.
If they recall correctly.
Yes. Yeah. And they don't remember him complaining about it then. So maybe it's not the same shades, but...
Maybe this is what, put him on to those colors.
Yeah, maybe that really softens him up.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is really a really good call out that is the Withywood colors. So we'll have to look out to see if it's described better.
Green Bay Packers fans, green and yellow goes together quite well. So green and gold.
As a Bears fan, I get Fitz's disgust at the colors.
The second part is about previous contributor Simon's email that reminded Gil that they're pretty sure that Lord Grayling is a piebald. And we do have confirmation of that from, I believe, Bastion, that we'll talk about in the future. Left a comment somewhere else.
Yeah.
But good shout out there, Gil. And then the third thing was the conversation we had about vernacular and my assumption that Clef was undereducated. But Gil is talking specifically about the example I used, Hagrid, for writing in vernacular.
Yes.
And has a question and a couple of observations. So Hagrid is written in the Hebrew translations as making a lot of mistakes, apparently, according to Gil here. And it's not a non-standard version or variety or variant of Hebrew. It's just making mistakes. And Gil's pretty sure that in the French translation, Hagrid speaks like all the quote-unquote normal characters.
Yeah, and in the English version, he's supposed to sound Scottish, which could be a slight from J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Intricacies of all that.
If that's different per translation, Gil's wondering if any of you who have different translations out there, how is Clef written? Is Clef written in a non-standard way in your language?
Yeah, is it a different accent?
Or is it the same voice kind of and spelling of words as all the other characters use?
Yeah, that would be really interesting to know. So I'm glad that Gil brought that up, because I would also be curious to know how Clef's accent is handled for non-English versions.
Yeah, so thank you very much for those questions and the thoughts there.
Thanks, Gil.
We also had some comments on our Instagram posts. One was from episode 267. This is chapter 18, part 1. And it was from Simon talking about the question that Emma posed on the episode. So the question for this episode was, why do you think the fool hates what he does to get the group away from the castle unsuspiciously?
Yes, because he keeps bringing up multiple times how much he hates the ruse. He hates what he has to do.
Yes. And Simon made a comment about the fool's dislike and trauma around sex or violation of physical boundaries that Simon thinks he got from Claris, his time at
Yeah.
Claris. And I wanted to bring up a question to you because I don't remember the Fool's actual, I guess, origin story, because we get a version of it in this book, right?
Right.
And it's not that bad. It's like I just went to school there for a while and then I left. And
Yeah.
I know we get a more real version of events in the final trilogy, but it's been a while since I read that. I don't remember the Fool or Beloved getting abused in any way in Claris when he was there as a kid.
Yeah.
Simon also brings up the breeding program. I don't remember if that is something that they're trying to get him to do in when he's young at the school for the first time, or if he's introduced to that program.
I don't remember that program having any effect on Beloved at all, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't remember that being something that was ever posed to Beloved. I know there is a breeding program in
so
Claris.
we could just be forgetting that context
absolutely
then.
super possible.
And I think you are not wrong, Simon, on this at all, because Beloved in his journey to get to the Six Duchies had a very traumatizing journey on the ship and like spending time and like was abused multiple times there. I just don't remember if it happened at Claris that first time.
Yeah.
So I think you're not wrong with this. I just wanted to ask questions about that specific detail.
Yeah.
But that makes sense to me too. Just violating the boundaries and having Lord Golden think he has to push something that he knows is not wanted on somebody else, and how
Right.
that would disgust himself, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think that is a good way to look at it too, just sort of the character of Beloved and what their morals are
Yeah.
and what they stand for. And then especially knowing that like personhood and consent and boundaries are so big for themselves that of course they're going to want to extend that to others as best they can at all
Right.
times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a really good outlook on why it would be so disturbing to Beloved to have to do that in this
Yeah.
moment.
Joseph also commented on this, answering that question. And Joseph said, I think a big part of it is that the kiss creates a story in which he isn't in control.
I think that's also a really good way to look at it, right? Like we have a character, Beloved, who loves to be in control of the narrative, especially when it's about themselves. And I think that having this moment where you have to go off script and potentially start rumors that are outside of your wheelhouse that you weren't planning on, that's out of your control, that also would be really uncomfortable.
It's not part of the carefully constructed personas that Beloved puts together.
Right.
Yeah, great thoughts there.
Yeah, so thank you guys. Joseph also wrote in an email and wanted to chime in on the whole best dad discussion and votes Fitz as best dad in the chapter.
Yeah.
So, not counting Nettle or Chivalry, Fitz adopts, fosters, is a stepdad to, mentors, or has biologically 10 children.
Yes. And Nettle, his own biological child, not counting him because Nettle isn't really Fitz's, like he never fathered her.
Yeah.
And then Chivalry as in Burrick's son, who was
Yes.
old enough to kind of take over stuff before Fitz got in there to be a father.
Yes. So that is Hap, who he adopted, Dutiful, who he's a mentor to, Swift, who he fosters and then is a stepdad for, Nimble, Steady, Just, Hearth, all stepdad for, B, his biological child, Lant, who he fosters / mentors, and Perseverance, who he fosters / mentors. And they go on to say, I will write in specifics as it occurs in the books, but in short, everyone on this list is a good person. All of the kids that fall into Fitz's life are better after Fitz than before. If Fitz is a bad dad, then he is very lucky to have this much success as a parent, which I think is a really good summary.
Yeah. And Joseph goes on to say that while Fitz does make mistakes, Joseph thinks that the reason that it's dwelled on in the
Yes.
books is because Fitz is a very self-critical person, and it's him telling the story. And he kind of just says, like, I'm awful all the time, so why don't we take that with a grain of salt when we're talking about his father, his parenthood as well,
Right.
as like the decisions that he made when he was 20, you know?
Yeah. Which, you know what, is a fair assessment. I do think, I don't know, I feel like Lant is a tough sell for me because I don't think Lant is that great. But
I think Lant and well, okay, so I'm bunching in both Lant and Perseverance into
Yeah.
the same thing because Perseverance had a family.
yeah,
Right? They went off on the adventure with Fitz and became more rounded and wise to the world, but I don't know if Fitz obviously had a influence on him because he's like 60 at the time or like 65.
Yeah.
So he's obviously the adult in the room. But at the same time, they
Okay.
spent maybe 6 months together.
yeah. Okay. I was just gonna argue if you're gonna say it's because he's too old.
No, he's not too old.
Yeah.
It's just that like it wasn't dedicated time to like, hey, here's how you do this. Like this is the best choice in life. Like you should be like this. It's I'm telling you what to do because this is my adventure and I have to drag you along because you followed me kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. But again,
And-
as I said earlier, I haven't read the final trilogy in a while, so maybe he takes more of that mentorship role onto himself.
Sorry, I might have just been really unfair to Lant. I think I was confusing Lant with Chade's kid.
Lant.
That is Lant. Okay, never mind. Then I don't think Lant's a very good person. I'm comfortable saying that. And you know what? I'm only saying that because he was so mean to B for no reason. He's literally a teenager, and that's a child.
He
but
was
whatever.
nice to be until his half sibling. He got the hots for his half sibling that he did not know of. Wait,
I know.
hold on. I'm going to continue this thought. And then to impress her as like a teenage boy, he was mean to the other girl.
Puts her life in danger multiple times, but sure. To impress a girl. I like, not great. Don't love that he's on the list and said to be a good person, but I guess we can excuse.
He ends up being a nice person. I think
He
that's Joseph's
does.
point, is that
Yeah.
after spending time with Fitz,
Okay,
During
you
that.
got me there.
yeah.
No, I don't know.
But Perseverance was already a good person, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think Fitz does well in some things in parenting. I think there's some things that I don't love that he does, but also I will say not a parent, so probably don't have, all the same perspectives as people who read as a parent.
Yeah.
And also ultimately these aren't real people, so so it's not actually affecting anybody, so I need to remind myself it's not that serious. This is not at you guys writing in. This is at me. I need to remind myself it is not that serious. These are fictional characters.
Joseph also had a couple other thoughts on fathers, and that was that I'm sorry to say this, but I think Kyle is probably the worst dad. He, to put it mildly, abuses one child, ignores another, and overrules the parenting of the mother with the third. And with Malta, he basically said, what's the big deal when Kefria tried to set reasonable boundaries?
Oh, no. I feel like that's not about being a bad parent, though. Although I guess you could argue the parental units coming together and not working well together could be bad parent.
Yeah.
But I think, and I already did caveat that I don't think I'm including Selden in his parenting. I'm talking before the book starts. He is providing for his kids. He's making sure that they're spoiled. He's making sure that they're taken care of. And he comes in and he loves them and dotes on them whenever he's in the room.
You're not talking about Wintro or Selden?
Sorry, Wintro.
Right? Okay.
That's my bad.
Different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Wintro because obviously he was a horrible dad to Wintro the whole book. But
Right. And before that, because he didn't grow up. Like he,
No,
did, he
yeah,
had like a late
he wasn't
puberty.
really. But that's why I'm saying pre-book.
Yeah.
To Selden and Malta, Kyle is a good dad.
From a kid's perspective, I think.
Perspective. Well, I don't know. He's taking care of the family. His wife likes him up until that point. And he agrees to let his oldest son go be a priest of Saw.
True.
So at one point they had a good marriage with good talking. He was a good parent, good family man. He just really went off the deep end, which like,
well, Joseph disagrees with you.
yes. Yeah. Valid.
Which like very valid. Cause if you're excluding one of the children from like parenting,
he doesn't raise him. If we get to say that Nettle doesn't count for Fitz, I think.
Except Kyle was there through Wintrow's birth and had decisions in where he went to, and there was decisions to be made there. And then
Okay.
as the parent,
Fitz is about to be in Nettle's
branded
life.
his own son, or tattooed his own son's face.
Fitz is about to be in Nettle's life, who is what, like 15, 16?
Yeah.
And then spend the rest of her life in her life. It's not the same, I know. I don't know. I'm just trying to
defend your position.
My
here.
position. It's not that serious. Once again, telling myself it's not that serious. It doesn't matter.
And then at the end, also thinks that you were right, Emma, that they should have gone that first night to get Dutiful when he was up the tree and when he was treed by Nighteyes, and they knew where he was and that he was alone. It was the best chance they had the whole book to get him without a fight. And that's true. And you were talking about that because you were asking if Lord Golden had selfish reasons not to push that.
You know what? Lord Golden could have said, I don't know where my man went, and they could have just pinned it on Fitz being the one sent to search for him, and then been like, where'd my servant go? I can't believe this. And then nothing to do. But whatever. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Then it wouldn't be the book that we're reading.
Not the book. So thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Joseph. We also got a couple comments on Facebook. First, we got a comment on episode 267. And this is from Bastion. So Bastion wrote in to talk about the fool's reluctance to act the way he does, which is again back to that question I asked. And Bastion says, I think the fool's reluctance to act the way he does comes from how he views love. That opinion is mostly based on this quote from the Golden Fool. When Fitz and the Fool have their infamous row, Fitz suggests pursuing Goretha, the gardener, instead of him, since unlike Fitz, she actually seems to like the Fool romantically. Quote, he rounded on me suddenly, and the true anger that flared up in his eyes lit them to a deep gold. His face flushed darker with the emotion as he demanded caustically, Then what? Then I could be like you, sate myself with whoever was available merely because it was offered to me? That I would find distasteful. I would never use Goretha or any person that way, unlike some we both know. I've always taken this quote to mean that Fool finds it repulsive to feign romantic interest in someone for the sake of getting something out of them, whether that something is sex or information or something he needs. Beloved is someone who is very much attracted to someone's personality, regardless of physical attributes, and because his love is so detached from appearances, it seems logical to me that feigning romantic interest in someone is uncomfortable for the Fool, to the point that he'll need a few drinks to get him through it.
I think that's also a very good look into the Fool, and it plays very nicely with both of the other comments that we got.
Yeah, that there is that sort of underlying, just again, the morality of beloved, of not wanting to use sexuality or
as a tool. Yeah.
Like it's not what it should be to them. That is just so gross and such a gross misuse of personhood, I guess. And so I really like that perspective and that point of view. So yeah, thank
you, Bastion.
And then Bastion also confirms that
the Lord Grayling thing, Piebald. So Bastion says that Lord Grayling is a Piebald and maybe the wife as well, but that doesn't really come up as a plot point until Fool's Fate.
Yes.
So we got a couple books before that happens, and Bastion also kind of outlines how that comes about and what happens there. So I'm looking forward to getting into the weeds a little bit more about the politics between the Piebalds and the rest of the Six Duchies. But it is good to have confirmation that the Brisingas were under threat during that dinner.
Yes. And so, it was it was much more serious than it appeared.
Yeah. But apparently Seidel has no idea about those political leanings. She's just an innocent young teenage girl.
Right.
So thank you very much, Bastion.
Yeah, thank you, Bastion. And then finally, we have a comment from episode 268 from Cookie Baker. Cookie Baker is talking about how they loved our discussion about the parenting styles in Realm of the Elderlings. They think all of Robin Hobb's characters are so real and human. The less you can see about someone's flaws as a parent, the more you'll pull them forward as your favorite. One thing that stuck out to me is how even the most well-intentioned parents in the series have flaws that impact their children. King Aod is a great example. Kettrican's upbringing seems idyllic. She was taught all her responsibilities and yet able to grow up to be herself. However, when he married her off to a foreign prince he knew next to nothing about, he sent her off to Buckkeep without even one confidant or protector. This kind of parental blind spot reminds me of Timera's dad. On the surface, he's a great parent. He prioritizes Timera's feeling, educates her, and makes her feel valued despite the societal norms against her. However, his protectiveness also blinds him to his wife's struggles and creates tension in their relationship. By handling Timera's care himself, he inadvertently deprives her mother of the opportunity to connect with Timera and work through her own feelings of guilt. Similar to Shrewd's failings of treating Desire as just a pretty face, either no political capabilities, which makes her feel insecure enough to poison Regal against the kingdom. This kind of nuanced parenting is what makes Hobb's character so believable and raises the questions about complexities of parenting and relationships. It's fascinating to see how some characters' parenting styles are shaped by their own upbringing. Sometimes they repeat the mistakes of their parents, almost as if they're stuck in a cycle, but other times they swing too far in the opposite direction, trying to avoid their parents' mistakes, and end up making different but equally significant errors.
Yeah, so like this is a very, very interesting comment. And it's a good analysis of the parenting styles for sure in this. And I really like this, Cookie Baker. Thank you for chiming in about this. Because I hadn't really thought about Timera's dad that much yet because we hadn't gotten there. But that's a great example that parenting styles from Robin Hobb's point of view are also varied as much as her characters, right? It comes from the character itself. Timera's dad, super protective, like this is my daughter, and overprotective to the point where he's protecting her against her own mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very interesting to read all these different people and very hard to rank then parenting styles and parents. I mean, we did it earlier this episode, but like it is very hard to do that because they do all have flaws. They are not perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect parent.
Which I think is very real, right? Like there's no perfect way to parent a child.
Right.
You just can't. You're never going to do it right. It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really cool to have all these different levels of characters because obviously while you can't perfectly raise a child, you can raise a child well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are definitely bad ways to raise children. And so it's cool to have that sort of array in the characters. So they're not just their own person, like as it stands to where they move in the world. It also touches who they are intermingled with other characters in the world, whether or not we get to interact with that relationship. We still get to see the waves of that. And that's just really well done on Robin Hobb's part.
Cookie Baker has a couple examples in this comment as well, saying that Fitz's parenting style is a great example. Given his own upbringing, it's no surprise that he wants to give Hap and Bee agency because he was put into such a strict box as a kid and kind of regimented that way. He was, he only really got to be a child when he was running around with beggar kids, and that's like his favorite part of his childhood, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, he's like, give my kids free reign.
Free reign in space, even though they sort of needed a little bit more direction.
Right. And Wintrow, Amber thinks that he's going to be great with Kenneth's son, but Wintrow only taught him the book learning that he got from the monastery, not really the practical life skills learned from having to survive out in the world, even though he realized that for him it wasn't enough. Like, there is flaws in everyone. Wintrow's not perfect either. So it's a really good point. And Cookie Baker at the end of it says, I personally think the person who learned the most from their parents and implemented that the best is Brashen.
Yeah.
You can see how he is able to raise up Clef, Boyo, Kennet's son, and even Paragon, except for one instance when he was in withdrawal from Sindon.
Yeah.
So again, flaws, but yeah, all of those people are raised up to be decent people as well.
Yeah.
So it's another good point for Brash in there, which I hadn't considered very much because again, final trilogy stuff. And
I also didn't even consider Brashen on the list of possibilities, which is rude of me, but but I guess, yeah, I mean, he does have a kid and the child does seem pretty well-rounded and well-loved and taken care of. And honestly, that's like the biggest thing for most of these characters, right? Like Fitz's kids are loved, whether or not he expresses that very well, he does love them, and I think they all know that. I will say Nettle and Dutiful maybe a little bit more on the iffy factor for that, but in the end do understand that he loves them and cares about them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that that's the thing that shines through on all the parents is that they all seem to love their children.
Yeah.
Like even Regal's mom, who was a horrible person and did not do well for her son.
She did it because she loved her children.
Yeah, it was out of love. And it was because she loved him so much. And she thought that was the best way to raise him. Right. And Shrewd loved him so much that he didn't fix it. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how familial love plays such a big part in this series.
So thank you, Cookie Baker.
Yeah, thank you, Cookie Baker.
There's actually a few comments that we got on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
That I have not read out yet. So the first one is from Evie Girl from episode 260. And this person is talking about the scene where Fitz breathes, "Oh, my queen," under his breath, and Kettricken kind of looks up at him. And Evie Girl says, "I feel like this is foreshadowing of her latent wit ability, which is touched on in later books." So more evidence or more support for that. This is kind of Kettricken recognizing Fitz and his presence.
Yeah.
Through the wit, even if it's unknowing.
Yeah. Which we do know she has from the first trilogy because Fitz does that whole meditation thing with her where he feels her using the wit.
But it's like not a lot.
No, it's pretty weak.
Yeah. We also had a couple comments on episode 268 on Spotify. One was from Heavenly. "Hasn't he been mostly off of the elf bark in this book? It makes me wonder if part of the reason it's completed full connection, the connection with Nettle that he had at night, is due in part to the fact that he isn't on elf bark. Additionally, I do think part of it has to do with both of them reaching to each other for sure, but I wonder if a little bit is the elf bark being drastically reduced." So kind of putting out there that maybe the elf bark was blocking and contributing to some of those headaches later.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. We've seen that the headaches, I mean, I don't know. One of the headaches in Galekeep was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I guess that's only like the second one.
Yes, but that was only like a day or two before.
Yeah.
So it could be, but my thought is still kind of like it's a mix of the skill and wit, because when he connects with Dutiful, it happens. When he connects with Nettle, it does not. It could be him, the experience of them both reaching out kind of meets somewhere in the middle, and him reaching into Dutiful is much more strenuous for his injuries.
Yeah.
It could be something like that. It could be elf bark, and that is a really good thought because the headaches are getting worse though. And he's not had it for a while, so I don't know.
They're not necessarily getting worse because he had a ghost of a headache connecting with Dutiful in this chapter, but it didn't fully articulate itself.
Bad. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be a bunch of different factors in there, but I'm really not sure what it is. That's a good theory.
I do like it.
Yeah. And then Bastion also commented on Spotify in that same episode, saying, "I know Robin Hobb cares little about how names are pronounced, but I've always pronounced Laudwine as Laudwine as opposed to Laudwin, since he and Paladine are twins, and twin names in the Six Duchies often share some kind of similarity. For instance, Kestrel and Gall and Swift and Nimble. It felt logical that their names would be pronounced similarly, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say Peladin and Lodwyn.
Yeah.
Peladine just sounds way better.
Lodwyn.
Yeah. I don't know. Peladine? Lodwyn?
Lodwyn. I don't know.
That's a really good point, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, I note it every time that, Kestrel and Gull, like, oh, of course, they're birds. Swift and Nimble, oh, of course. But I never thought about Lodwyn.
Yeah, valid. I keep forgetting they're twins, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it.
So thank you very much, Bastion. That's cool. I don't know. How do you think you're going to keep on pronouncing it?
I don't know. I hate that name so much. I
feel like once you get a name in your head, you stick with it, even if it's
wrong.
Yeah, even if you learn later that it's wrong.
That's fair. It's because, okay, here's a little secret about me, is that I've probably spilled this secret before, but when names aren't like recognizable to me in a way where I've met a real person with that name, I can remember the shape of the words throughout the page. I'm not pronouncing that. I just, in my head, I'm reading that going, and does this, and then Palavla does that, So yeah, so like, I don't know. It's whatever we want it to be.
Thank you for that comment. I'll probably say Lodwyn, because I said Lodwyn in my head before.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to say Peladine. That's too close to Peloton to me. I like Peladine.
Okay. I don't know. I try to just copy whatever Luke decides. Except for Burek, I made him change to my wrong way of saying it.
Yeah. I think combined our two ways are the correct. Because I said Burrich in my head. And you said Burek. And I think it's Burek.
Burek. I don't know. Whatever. But thank you,
yes,
Bastion.
The very last thing before we wrap up tonight is to say thank you so much to Neva and, of course, Anna as well for supporting us on Ko-fi. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for the tips and the donations.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really does help with the cost of running this show. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who writes in. We love hearing from you guys, and it's so fun to hear your theories, your reaction to our theories, your reaction to each other's theories. It's just a fun little group we have, and I feel like we're all family here, so it's really great to hear from you. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say next week.